We're super excited to talk about the Google algorithm update. It's very important for websites, for business owners to know what's going on. And it's really all about the Google's page experience, which is the main focus. And of course, Alex and Larissa, they are going to be going into a little bit more depth there. All right, so if we want to go on, we'll kick this meeting off talking about the Google algorithm update and what it means for your business. So Alex, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Kalie. Today is it's a great opportunity to dig in because we are at a point right now where as businesses, we have a ton of challenges already, and we don't need to beat that with a dead horse with a stick, but to definitely talk about it from a perspective of the search engines. This is a very important time because Google is at the crux of it all, is our gateway to the world. Since 1998, Google has been creating this database that allows people to search and find what they're looking for in real time at any one point. And their whole goal was to create this great user experience that kept people on Google. And sure, they've done a lot of things since then. They bought YouTube, they made laptops, and they have email and office software and speakers, even doorbells. But at the end of the day, it's the search engines that really are the one thing that businesses have to fear the most nowadays. Because let's face it, there are no more yellow pages. And it's very difficult even now in today's time to really go visit a store now, or any type of retail business or any business for that matter. So it's become even more relevant to us now that as business owners, whether you're serving the government sector or the private sector or anything along those lines, you need to be able to be found. And since 1998, Google has made roughly 550 algorithm updates every single year. So, and some of these are obviously very minor. They won't really affect you, but some of them are very large and they can hurt you. Now, some people say, well, that's pretty extreme. They could hurt us. The goal is not in evil and in malicious intent, but the fact is businesses have to be very aware and educated now because the website is the one 24-hour storefront that you have that affects everything that you do. So it becomes important to now take care of that storefront. And so today we're going to be looking at different aspects of this. But I always like helping people understand also the relevancy of what we're talking about in the history. With all of those updates over time, the bigger ones, most notably search engine algorithm updates such as Payday, Penguin, Hummingbird, and even more notably a few years back, Mobilegeddon, which was by its name a little telltale sign that Google was putting a preference on mobile-friendly websites. So, and at that point, when Google made that update, it was one of those things where if your site wasn't mobile friendly, then it wasn't. There was no in between. And Google, their update really pushed a lot of businesses out of the search engine rankings. And if you're not on the first page, there's nothing else to be worried about. In fact, it's 99% of people who go to Google only spend their time on the first page. So if you're not listed there, it's a very unlikely you'll be found for whatever your relative keyword phrase is. But I say keyword phrase because for most of you, you need to understand that historically, a lot of the changes Google has made to the algorithms have been keyword based. And let me give you an example. So if I go to the search engines and I type in model cars, I want to make sure I see model cars and not car models. And that's a very real scenario that happens often, is that if the search engine algorithm doesn't understand the context, the geography, and a whole bunch of other determining factors, it's not going to give the best result. Ergo, you're not going to be happy with what Google provides you, which means you won't be using Google. So this update, much like the other ones, is very focused on user experience. And more unlike the other content ones, this is very mechanical. This is very technically focused on the mechanics of your website and how it's built. And so Larissa, today, as we go through, we're going to be talking a little bit about what those things are, specifically mobile friendliness, safe browsing, secure HTTPS, and what we call intrusive interstitial guidelines, aka pop-ups or things that disrupt the user experience. There are also going to be some other Google Web Vitals, as they call them, such as how fast does a page load? Is it overly interactive? Does it jump around and create a bad user experience? And what happens primarily on the mobile devices. So this is very important for everybody to understand because it will affect your business. But what's great about this update is Google's done a great job about trying to get businesses ready. Since May of 2020, they've released new tools that are inherently in your browsers. If I would say most people here probably have a Google Chrome browser on their computer, and hopefully most of you can use it or access it quickly. But what it'll allow you to do is even determine for yourself, as opposed to just coming to somebody like us or anybody that's out there, you can actually determine where your site is in the view of Google as far as its user friendliness. So, but to dig into that and really get your hands on it and help you understand it more, I'm going to turn over the rest of the presentation to Larissa, and her and I will kind of go back and forth and present to you today some of the things that we've learned and we want to help make sure you're ready for in your business. So, Larissa, why don't you go ahead and take it from there?
Thanks, Alex. So as Alex said, Google will have 500 to 600 updates a year. Some of the more important ones highlighted on your screen. So why is this one so important? Well, one of the reasons for that is that this was announced back in May of 2020. I know we're all probably busy, focused on other things, and may not have heard Google's announcement, but it was announced over a year ago. And in fact, it was scheduled to launch May of 2021, and just a couple of days ago, Google postponed that launch and said instead of launching it over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to postpone the launch till mid-June and roll that out over just over 12 weeks from mid-June through the end of August. And they said they wanted to watch for what they call unintended consequences. So we can assume that this is going to be a big deal because typically Google does not give a year's notice.
No, they don't, Larissa. And I think thank you for highlighting that for them, because this is one of those things where Google looks out for businesses, but at the same time, the magnitude of this over almost a 3-month launch, it is significant. So thank you for illustrating that.
Okay, well, fortunately, while this is very significant, it's not the only thing that Google uses to rank. Google has a black box of sorts for its proprietary ranking algorithm that it uses. But we do know that it will be more significant. To what degree, we can only infer, but it is something that we want you to prepare for, we want you to be aware of, but know and keep that in context that it will be used in conjunction with other ranking factors. Okay, so what is it? Let's dive in. Okay, so the user experience, as Alex alluded to earlier, talks about 7 or 8 different issues, and they're all supposed to signal page experience or how we as visitors to a site perceive the site's quality, safety, and intent. So Alex kind of talked a little bit about intent of car model versus model car. And so that was really a focus of a previous update called BERT, which really talked a lot about AI. This one is all about really focused on page loading and a lot of the more technical aspects. So some of the things you may have heard already or be familiar with is being mobile friendly. Safe browsing, which safe browsing is not just do you have that little locked symbol on the left side of the URL, but it also talks about suppressing malware, suppressing any cloaked websites, phishing or scam websites. They want to make sure that you're not seeing those anywhere close to your top page results. And then the intrusive interstitials that Alex mentioned. So sometimes pop-ups, but definitely if you've ever gone to, I know sometimes I'll go to a news publication, and as the page is loading and I'm trying to read it, the whole page is bouncing around because ads are starting to load and videos loading, and so that's super annoying, and you'll see those sites increasingly penalized, thank goodness. But some of the newer items that we may not have heard of before or may not have even been aware of is this section called Core Web Vitals. And so there's 3 aspects that we're going to look at today within Core Web Vitals that focus on loading, interactivity, and visual stability. Okay, so let's look, the best way to look at this is to dive right in to an example. And Google makes it really easy to do this. And we're going to use this URL that they provide for us and take a look at a website. And we're going to look at our own. So this is one of MOJO's websites, Mobile Web Solutions. It's primarily targeted at our government business. And we can see here on mobile, off to the left, we've got a 67 score, and desktop, wow, 91. Gosh, I think that's an A-, Alex. You get an A-.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it. I'll take it.
But as we'll see in a minute, it is really hard to get fully in the green here. And as we look and scroll through this page insights, they really go step by step and kind of let you know what's going on. So this FCP, first content paint, it's how fast does the first images appear. And I don't know if you can see, you have kind of these blank squares, and then all of a sudden here it pops up, the website showing what people can actually see, and then time to interactive. So that's the next key indicator, and that's 1 second, right? Both of these are under a second. So if you can get a website to load and be interactive in under a second, you're definitely green lit for Google scoring. And then cumulative layout shift. This is that speaks to the interstitials that we were talking about, is how much are things moving around as they're loading on the page. And the answer here is none, right? 6/100ths of a second in terms of, or 6/100ths of I believe that's a percent. It's a measurement. It's not a time measurement, but a quality measurement. So again, we get the green light on that. A little bit more as we go to mobile. It takes a little bit longer to load, but just over 3 seconds. We're still scoring pretty well. Time to interactive is a little bit longer on mobile, but again, no cumulative layout shift, so those are good. And as you go through the score, Google breaks it down. And so if you're a developer type and understand some of the more technical aspects, if not, this would be something that your developer or SEO person would be looking at to see how they can make changes to improve. And here's your time savings for each of them. And they're actually pretty detailed, right, in terms of what they cover and give you a step-by-step guide of things to start implementing.
Yeah, and Larissa, let me interrupt for a second while you bring up the next one, is that a lot of these details they put in here they may not necessarily mean much to you. They may be good indicators. You can really kind of gauge the waters of where you lie. But Google's done a great job of giving you this overall summary, that immediate score that you can relate to and understand that I can take this and go, take it on my own, because this site's publicly accessible. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to be, this is a publicly accessible URL that all of you can plug your websites into. But it's a good indicator that, again, do I have a problem? And so, yeah, so if some of these, the more detailed views are a little too much for you, definitely keep this in mind that this will all make a lot of sense to you as you move on. So go ahead, Larissa, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, so we'll look at a couple of others. So AUI Group is a website that MOJO recently launched, a construction website, and they score really well, right? 84 on mobile, which is very, very high, as you'll see when you start to test other websites, and 98 on desktop. On congratulations. That's definitely something that too bad that they're not on this call. We'll have to send them that information, Kalie, and that congratulations. So here you can see it's less than a second for the first contentful paint to load. You can see, right, these little squares here at the bottom, all of them are showing images right off the bat. Time to interactive is half a second. We're in the tens, hundreds, thousandths in terms of cumulative layout shift, so virtually nil. So great job there. So now let's look, and you're probably wondering, well, you've got to be Google to get to 100. Well, and surprisingly, although Google has scored 99 or 100 before, sometimes, and this is just to demonstrate that not even Google can score 100. No, but truly, sometimes it is the time of day. If you're like me and you run a lot of extensions in your browser, sometimes having extensions can slow down this scoring. So make sure that you've turned off your extensions. If you're wondering why you're scoring low, that can often be a trick. It was not in this case. So I think it might be where they're pulling their server from. There's a variety of things, but again, you can see what's going on here. First contentful paint, 2.8 seconds. Time to interactive was quite a long time in this particular test. Of 6.8 seconds. And then their desktop, they score much better. Yeah. But, and again, going through step by step. Okay.
And so, yeah, some of those is, you can go ahead and proceed. I'll just comment on a couple of things. So yes, the score is always relevant to your business and your site, but they are real. And anything in that red is going to, anybody sitting in that red zone is going to have some real problems. Of course, the higher up, the better. But again, it's a combination of different results. So go ahead.
Okay, so diving into those core web vitals, right, that top section, and these are the three main things that we want to focus on, because we're assuming that your website is mobile friendly. We're assuming you have an SSL certificate on your site, and that you don't have malware or any phishing or anything like that installed on your site that would be against other Google ranking metrics and just a bad experience in general. So LCP, or largest contentful paint, I think they just made up this word. So they really want to see you under 2.5 seconds so that the user can see that something is actually showing up on the page, and it's just the largest portion on the page. FID, or first input delay, measures the time that it takes for you to be able to interact with the site. And so again, they're looking for milliseconds here, under 100 milliseconds, and cumulative layout shift. And again, that's it could be a pop-up banner that shows up immediately on the site. Often those are delayed. More frequently, I'm seeing those pop-ups for emails, right? Because we all, as small business owners or businesses of all kinds, you want to get those email lists. So often I'll see those on the exit, right? And there's a way to program that so that the pop-up doesn't show up until somebody's exiting your page. But this is also targeting anybody that might have a bunch of ads on the page or things like that, and they want to see that under 0.1. Okay, so we do have tools to measure this. The first we covered, or we looked at, page speed insights, but know that those are not the only ones. All of these tools are free and available to you, just a Google search away. So Chrome has a UX report, Search Console. So many of your websites, especially if you are a MOJO client, your website is connected, or I should say a MOJO SEO client, your website is connected to Google Search Console, where we monitor those metrics and some new features that they've added to measure core web vitals. There's Chrome Dev Tools that provides that. And I think Kalie's going to be sending this link to the Lighthouse Dev Tools that operates inside a Chrome browser. And this is a really great tool because it not only measures some of the things that Page Speed Insights measures, but it'll also measure things like SEO and other types of other metrics that you'll want to be measuring or looking at or evaluating. The SEO is one that I like to look at, and it'll do that for any page. So you can pop in your home page or your services pages, and you'll see some scoring and recommendations there as well. Okay, so here I think you have to be example.com to get to 100, but again, it's super easy. Pop in your URL. It can be your home URL, but it can also be any of your services pages, especially your money pages, right? You all know what they are. What are those landing pages that you're sending people to for maybe a pay-per-click ad or something else that is your high converting page? And if that is not loading quickly, then you definitely want to pay attention.
And let me jump in here real quick, Larissa. So for all of those, and I know a handful of you guys in there today that are guys and gals that are working with government clients, there is a lot of times we're trying to communicate with the government agencies. Their firewalls prevent a lot of access to most sites that are out there. So if you want to be found by the search engines, it happens to be that Google's performance metrics here that they put in, those KPIs, they actually align with the government standards for their firewalls and accessibility. So that's something to consider as well. These will be great indicators. There's a few other little things that you can do to enhance it, but they line up well for those users as well.
Okay, so I know you're all asking the question, the obvious elephant in the room is what's my score and is it good? So let's find out. Okay, so Kalie? Who wants to, do we have any volunteers?
Yeah, do we have any volunteers who want to go through your site?
You can.
Alan, what about you, buddy?
Oh, Stephanie.
I'm just kidding.
Stephanie, Flores, did you?
Yeah, Stephanie, let's go ahead.
www.kgtruckauto.com.
And I'm sorry, is that KD as in David or G as in George?
KG as in Kelsey Gary.
And trucking, I'm sorry.
kgtruckauto.com.
Oops, comma, sorry. Here we go. Where it's like, oh, we're all in suspense here waiting. Yeah, we need music, Kalie, next time.
Must be that new update already.
Okay, 36. All right, so you've got nowhere to go but up. But let's dive in and look. So 36 mobile, 77 desktop. So one thing to know, Stephanie, is where is your audience coming from? If you have not linked your website to Google Analytics, that's definitely something that you're going to want to do. And inside Google Analytics, which is a free tool that Google offers, they will let you know what device most of your users are coming from. And if it's desktop, you might be doing all right? Maybe not as much to worry about, but mobile, you'll definitely want to take a look at some of these recommendations. So here, the first contentful paint, that's not too bad, right? 3.4 seconds, that's just over that 3-second mark that Google likes to see. But here's a problem, right? Time to interactive, 12.6 seconds. So we can go through, and I'm sorry, just really quick, I wanted to call this out, cumulative layout shift 0, so that's really great. So you have one area that I would recommend focusing on, and that's this time to interactive. And again, provided that your client base is coming to you from mobile.
Right.
Okay,
Great.
so anyway, so there you go, and again, I'll let you go through some of these things on your own. We just don't have the time to do that today, but I wanted to give you kind of an overall view of what that would look like.
And again, if you guys want us to walk you through your results, feel free to reach out to us or use the link for schedule.
Yeah, just if I could, Stephanie, I'm just curious, do you know right now where most of your users are coming from? Are they mobile or desktop?
I believe it's from the analytics I know of, it's pretty even. I would say probably more mobile than desktop.
Probably more mobile. Okay, well then that, again, I might put this up on a priority list, right? Just to see what is going on with that time to interactive and how you can improve that on mobile.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Okay, so moving forward. So here we have one of Mojo's clients, Syscom, which is a network cabling provider and an audiovisual provider for B2B. And we can see that on mobile, they're scoring 38, right? So not too far off, Stephanie, from your site, and 67 on mobile. And so at first blush, we're thinking, oh gosh, well, they've got some work to do, and definitely something that we will want to look at for them. But then we want to make sure and look at them in context with their competitors. So Vision Technologies is one of their competitors, and providing audiovisual. And you can see that both in mobile and on desktop, they're scoring worse than Syscom. So this might be an opportunity for Syscom to get ahead, right, on that marathon by continuing to improve and advancing and having this algorithm change, leveraging that to get ahead on their rankings.
Great.
Okay, so since we're going to be focusing on page speed, we're going to have a little quiz. So get ready, put your thinking hats on, and we're going to ask you to show a thumbs up or thumbs down and learning a few things about page speed and why it's important. So Google does a variety of research, both on their own using Google Analytics and the knowledge that they glean from your websites, but also in partnership with others. And this was done, a particular study was done in partnership, I believe, with Deloitte. And so, oh no, I'm sorry, this is from Think with Google. So here's the question. When a page load time goes from 1 to 3 seconds, right, that's within that green, from green to just past the green line, the probability of bounce increases 32%. So a show of hands or show of thumbs. Thumbs up if it's true. Thumbs down if you think this is false.
Do I get to answer?
Yeah, everybody answer. I want to see some thumbs.
It looks like majority is saying true.
Saying true. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, and it is true. So when page load speed just changes from in the ones to in the threes, probability of bounce increases 32%. As we go through 5, 6, and 10 seconds, right? The probability of bounce has increased over 100%. So super important. And again, we're talking on mobile. Google has been using that mobile first for optimizations, as most people are using their mobile devices, and a place where we want to be lightning fast if possible. Okay, next question. So this is the study from Deloitte. I really like some of the findings from this study. So this really speaks to ROI. So not only will increasing your page speed increase your rankings, but it also has an actual value in conversions, right? So whether you're a service-based business looking for a lead or a phone call or an email, a form fill, or whether you're retail looking for conversions, shopping cart purchases, and order values. This is asking the question, will a 1/100th of a second mobile site speed increase yield an 8% increase in retail conversions and nearly just over 9% in order value? Who says yes? Thumbs up or down?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Who says yes?
Yes, and it is true. So again, this isn't 1 second, this is a 100th of a second. So it really does make a difference. People have a higher expectation as Amazon and other big players lead the way in terms of best performance metrics. Okay, last question. Oops, sorry, wrong way. Last question. So, and this speaks to our attachment to our mobile phones, and maybe some of you can relate. So the question is, they surveyed people and asked, this is a Boston Consulting survey, more than 55% would rather give up dining out for 12 months versus surrendering their mobile device. Who thinks this is true? I don't know whether you would not asking if you agree, but who thinks this is true? People would rather give up.
Majority say true.
True. And it is, oops, sorry, wrong way. More than 55% would rather give up dining for 12 months. Wow. And I guess for some of us, that's not far off from the last 12 months versus surrendering their mobile device.
Great.
Okay.
Well, we all have priorities. All right. So just so we can watch our time here. If we have any questions, we can take maybe 1 or 2 at most. I think, Kalie, are we okay on time?
We're good. We're good on time.
So would anybody like to ask either Larissa or myself any questions about what they saw today?
Is it possible to email some of the slides that you guys had during this presentation? There's a lot of really good information that I want to be able to read, really take the time to sink into.
So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and we'll provide a recording as well of this actual event. So it'll be shared out to everybody who attended today.
And I'll share some additional resources as well and a couple of tools. So
correct. Okay, good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I know it was a lot of information to dump on and just to sort of absorb all that. Part of it is taking that in context and really understanding loading, interactivity, and visual stability. And I have a feeling, I don't know this for sure, but hopefully everyone will be good with this visual stability part. So it'll really just be these other 2 areas that you'll want to focus on. Yeah.
A lot of times that visual stability comes in when you're on CNN. Tim, I see your question there. We'll come to you, but a lot of people typically go to either CNN or, they look at these sites and they're loaded with a ton of stuff. Sometimes designers get carried away with interactivity. There's a ton of stuff that's going on with that. And the problem is, again, Google's saying this is not good for user experience, so we don't want that. So that's why they're putting these indicators and these gauges in here to see how far you can push the envelope with your own website and your own message. Tim, go ahead. What was your question?
It's interesting to me that mobile, it seemed like the ones that I've just looked up, I just kind of had fun while you guys were doing it, looking up all the pages. It seems like mobile is almost always lower than desktop, which kind of makes sense. But on the same token, I'm kind of wondering, you're taking a hit for that. on their algorithms. And is it pretty easy to adjust that to kick your mobile score up, or what kind of difficulty level is that?
It could come from a couple different, that's a great question, Tim, for those especially who are contemplating, shucks, I need to change. So some of them can be very dramatic. Okay, they could be a whole brand new website. It could also be, for some sites, it's just addressing a few key areas. For example, Stephanie was kind enough to share her analytics as we looked at her site and how it was performing. And there are a couple areas we could probably jump her up in an area from that 36 to a higher score. The reason you see a lot of mobile doing poorly is because nobody really took the mobile get it as seriously as they needed to as business owners. Designers shifted their whole design. We came up with an issue called mobile responsiveness. Like, it became a big UI UX thing for us. But for a while, it wasn't such a priority. I mean, when 2008, 2007, the mobile phone hit us all from a smartphone device, it changed the world. And so, but it took a while for the adoption rate to kick in. And so now you still see website designers not designing mobile first, but they're designing desktop first. And they're not bad people or anything like that. It's just having a plan, sitting down and saying, okay, this is my objective. As Larissa is also talking about with Stephanie's, where do you get your customer base? Some people, you'd be surprised. Some of our clients, for example, American Cedar, they have a ton of traffic coming from mobile. So it's, what's happening there. And if you look at different sites, everybody's going to need an adjustment. Nobody's perfect. Mojo's site's not perfect. Our .biz site's not perfect. And this is why we're taking action now. We're like, okay, we're going to go ahead and fix these things and get them all up to speed. And that's the whole point of awareness now for you, Tim, is can I get this done? For some people, it'll be very affordable. And others, it might be more expensive because it might have been 7-10 years since you updated your website. And that's okay, but now it's time to really invest in that storefront again. So I hope that answered your question, Tim.
And if I can just add, Alex, some things that people can do right away. This talks about serving images in next-gen formats. There are some tools that allow you to change the image format, but even if you're not doing that or going that in depth, some really basic things like making sure that you're uploading right-sized images. So if you have an image that's only going to appear on your screen as 2 by 3 inches, right, or 400 by 300 pixels, make sure you're not uploading something that's an entire page or a screen size, right? Uploading the right size image and not having a larger image than what you're actually going to be displaying. And then the other talks about this next gen format, which is beyond the PNG or beyond the JPEG.
Yeah, don't be fooled by the WYSIWYG editors, the content management systems that allow you to upload a big photo. They only reduce them typically by a percentage. So if you upload a 5 megabyte file that's reduced by 50%, it's still a 2.5 megabyte file, which is way too big for a website. It should be somewhere, in the 100 to 300K, depending upon what you're displaying. Even with high resolution, there are better ways to do it. So that's a great note there, Larissa. All right, so where does that leave us, Kalie?
Does anyone have any other questions, comments? Doesn't look like it. Feel free to reach out to me if you need.
I have a comment.
Please, John.
We talked earlier about a perfect score 100. And in my experience, basically, the only time you're going to be able to score 100 is if you have a blank website.
Yes, that's right, John.
So again, anything over the 90s is really good. And what was commented earlier, a lot of times, even though you'll have a 95, 96 on desktop, you still will have, a 70 or 80 on the mobile. It is very hard to get that number up. And then when attacking some of these things, with a little bit of research, you can find some tools. But even with those tools, touching some of these areas is a very dangerous thing and requires a professional.
Yeah. And that's a great point, John. And I will even add, keep in mind, we're not even talking about the keyword aspect, right? The origins of search engine optimization, which is based upon the merit of your content of your site. So we're just talking about one aspect. And what John's bringing up is that, some of these things it's the interpretation of what you're looking at could be either significant or minimal. Don't get fooled by the numbers.
That's right. And contact Mojo Creative.
That's right.
Well,
Thank you, John.
And truly, there's a lot of places to focus. I leave this slide up just to remind you that it's not just rankings, but it's also conversion, right? When people are coming to your site, it would be as if somebody walked in the door and your receptionist or whoever the person is that's greeting your customer were on the phone with their backs towards you, right? Facing the other way, not even looking or acknowledging the person before they walked in your door. And so that is not a very hospitable or welcoming experience. And so that's the analogy or that's what Google's trying to speak to make sure that your website quickly acknowledges the visitor, the website visitor, both visually and with that interactivity. And you will see that increase conversions, calls, leads, because it'll just provide a better experience. And sometimes for some people, that'll mean focusing on those money pages, right? The homepage is often that money page, but it can also be key services pages, pages that you're directing maybe a paid ad to or something to that fact.
Right.
All right, thank you. So I am putting in some resources, the calendar to schedule any meetings if anyone's interested, as well as our social accounts. So I just added that. And again, don't forget to put your information in the chat. That way you guys can all reach out to each other, do some more networking, see if you guys have any synergies, we can work together. And now we are going to go into our raffle for the Oculus, which I'm
Show it. Yeah, look at that Oculus. I'm just telling you, I have one, and I've done virtual tours of real estate. I am a Jedi Knight master playing Star Wars, and pretty good at some zombie games too. So you'll love this thing. Love it.
Yes, so I'm going to share my screen.
And this is going to be as fair and legit as possible on this giveaway.
Maybe if I could find it. Oh, there we go. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, can you blow it up a little bit though?
Yep.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Are we ready?
We are ready. Spin the wheel.
And they have to be here to win it. Oh.
Hey, Karen, Samantha, this is for you all. Oh, Tim.
I never win anything.
Yay. So we'll definitely connect with you after this to send you that. And I want to thank everybody for coming. Again, follow us on social. We do have another event coming up, and we look forward to seeing you all. Alex?